Hello everybody and welcome back to another Taiji development log. I'm Matthew Van Devener, and Taiji is a open world adventure puzzle solving game that takes a lot of inspiration from The Witness. And if that type of thing sounds interesting to you, there is a link in the description below to find out more. So, we're doing things webcam again. Apologies for weird focus issues, and obviously the quality is lower. But we're doing this because we're going to be doing some discussion about the new music that we've been working on, me and composer Gregory Zappa. I think that's how to pronounce his last name. He's Polish, so I don't speak Polish, so I don't know. And I didn't clarify with him, but I'm gonna go with it anyway. So anyway, first I thought as a baseline it would be good to kind of look at the previous music or the existing music and have that as like a comparison point for the new music and how things are implemented. Okay, headphones on so that you can hear the music as it is intended. So first I'm just going to run around for a minute so you can just hear the music and without me talking over it, and just get a sense of what that sounded like. Okay, so as you can tell, the music is, it's not like it's terrible, it's not like I couldn't use it, but there's not a lot that happens within an area. The music is essentially there's just tracks and they're emanating from certain points in the world, and as you get further from one point, that track fades out, and as you get closer to another one, that track fades in. So there's a little bit of blending of those tracks, but it's sort of just there's not a lot of fine control over how that's implemented. And I think this music is fine and it would be shippable, and it may still ship if I can't afford to finish everything out with a higher degree of quality and a higher degree of specificity. But in any case, that just gives you a baseline. So now we'll look at the new music. Okay, so this is the new music, which I say this is the new music, but it changes as you go around even within an area. So I'm just going to run around again like I did before, and you can kind of hear some of those changes, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so the way that this new music system is set up is that there's essentially an oscillator, which I'll show you how the debug display of all this stuff. So there's like an oscillator here, which you can kind of sort of see my cursor pointing at, but it's The cursor's below the thing. So that oscillator, you could kind of think of like the wind coming in and out, right? And that will affect not just like the volume of the wind, but the volume of like different layers to the music. So like when we look at this area, like there's a bunch of different layers here, and it may get reduced down because some of this might not be entirely necessary to be separate, but in any case, and as you move around from section to section, like different layers come in and out of the music, right? And so that's kind of how it's set up, is like each area has its own like subset of musical layers, so that everything kind of feels a little different as you're going around. And then there's this sort of flute solo that kind of ties everything together and gives the whole area like one kind of feel, right? So there's like a little bit of connection between each area as things come in and out. But yeah, that's the basic idea of how it works. I'll dive into kind of technically how that's set up a little bit more in a minute. But first, I think I want to look at the mill area, which is, although the orchard here is still somewhat work in progress, it's much closer to, I think, done than the mill. So the mill's more work in progress, but looking at the mill will at least give some kind of sense of how another area might sound different. Okay, so this is the mill area. It's a different area. And so the instruments that come in and out are different, and ostensibly the tone should be different as well. I think we could do more to try to differentiate it. It's still work in progress, but I'm going to run around here and you can kind of hear those differences come in and out as well, and then we'll get into talking about how things are implemented technically, I guess, a little bit. I don't know how deep of a dive I'm going to do on that because I haven't really prepared that much on that front, but I think talking about it a little bit will be interesting. Okay, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about how things are technically implemented. I did cover a little bit about the oscillator and the different layers. So yeah, I'll sort of explain that a bit more. Okay, so sort of the like heart of how this works is that there are what's called music zones, and so you'll see these like this green thing here. This outlines a music zone called outside smelting building. So this is the smelting building. And there's another one that's like inside smelting building. And yeah, so outside of this building and inside, and each area has its like little zone that when you're in that zone, that sets the music zone. And then music zones have different layers of audio that get added to them. And the way that that's primarily handled, because I needed something that Gregory could work with without having to like use Unity and stuff, and it just felt like it would be easier. is with configuration files. So we'll look at these configuration files real quick. Okay, so this is not something that will end up shipping with the game, but this is just like how things are configured for now, but they can be like baked down into the build and stuff. So essentially there's this streaming assets folder that has like different subfolders and however you want to organize it, that then have tracks in, and these tracks all get pulled in as layers that can then be configured using these config files. So the way the config files are set up is you've got like different, you can set the different zones and different properties for them. You can add layers into those zones, or you can like tweak things about those layers when you're within that zone. And if you're not in that zone, then down here there's like layer settings, and these are like the default settings. So essentially you can set like a default setting like, well in this case like the bass guitar, it's got like based on the oscillator, when the oscillator's low, this is the volume, when the oscillator's high, this is the volume, and then there's like an extra value that's like when you're close to the edge of the world, the wind gets louder, and that can also be used to like influence how loud these different tracks are. And wind is governed with this system as well, just because it's kind of better to tie everything together and have that all work. So, in the actual game, at least for now, the music system just comes in with nothing, and then when the game starts up, it scans all that stuff and builds out all of the layers. The zones are actually something that I bake in, but the layers and stuff all get specified from those, and built out into different layers here, which you can see loading in, which does take a second just because like it's having to like load those files in real time and whatever. So in any case, that's how that works. If anybody has like any additional questions about that, then you can feel free to leave them in the comments, and I'll try to follow up on that. In the meantime, mostly I think what I want to do is I want to get people's feedback on the new music and what do they think of it and how do they think it compares to the old music. Obviously, like in the case of like the Orchard, it's just very different what you're hearing there between the two versions, right? In one version, it's like you're hearing guitar and harp, and the other one you're hearing like flute and marimbas and pads and stuff. So it's very different. So that can just be a matter of taste, but still, you know, your input is it's something, and it will be taken into account a little bit. Even though like mostly I think we're headed down this path, and I think it's going to be better. Just because it's better to have the music be more dynamic and change more as you're moving around and have more kind of specificity to what we pick for each area. So in any case, hopefully it's been interesting, even if it's not been the most enlightening thing. I didn't really go into like the actual code of how I implemented the music system. It's kind of straightforward. I just parse the files and build out some data structures and change the volume based on those data structures. So it's not really that interesting, but you know, if somebody really wanted me to follow up on it, then I'd be happy to follow up on that. In any case, till next time, I will see you all around. Have a good one, everybody. Oh, I should say something. The ending stuff that I've been working on is like 99.9% done. Like my part of it's pretty much done. Now it's just doing some music for it, which Gregory is doing, and then I guess I'm probably just gonna orchestrate sound effects to it because it's easier than like triggering everything in real time. So that's good. That means that like things will be in some kind of close to shippable shape apart from the new music stuff pretty soon. So all right, I'll see you around maybe in 2 weeks. I don't know that I'll have anything to say next week, so unless people write in some questions or something. So till then, have a good one, everybody. Bye bye.